Okay, good morning, everyone. Let's get started. My name's Tom McGuire. I'm the interim director of the SFMTA, and I'm really excited to be here today to christen this brand new, increasingly car-free space here in Hayes Valley. You know, where we're standing today, as many people here remember when there used to be a freeway running right over our heads. We took that freeway down, but we didn't stop there. We've been working with Hayes Valley neighbors and stakeholders and residents from all over this part of the city to make Patricia's Green, Octavia Boulevard, and this whole neighborhood more pedestrian friendly, less congested, less honking, more space for people to walk and bike and enjoy the great renaissance of Hayes Valley. So I've been joined by several speakers today who are going to share their thoughts about the opening or the closing to traffic and the opening for people of this section of Octavia. Before I do that, I do want to acknowledge and thank the mayor, whose leadership on this issue, dating all the way back to the time that she was the District 5 supervisor, has been very strong. And with that, I'm going to introduce her successor, the District 5 Supervisor, Valerie Brown.
Wow, this is really amazing, isn't it? You know, it was interesting because I was just standing over there in the street, and I thought, oh my God, I'm in the street, I gotta move. And then my aide said, no, it's blocked off, you don't have to worry. And we're so conditioned when we're in streets to watch out because, you know, the city is dangerous that way. But to actually now be able to stand on this part of Octavia Boulevard is a dream come true. I remember I was actually one of the activists. That was when I first started being an activist in Lower Haight, is when we talked about taking down the freeway. And I remember so many people said, oh, it's not gonna, you can't do that because the west side of the city needs their little freeway. And I was like, maybe not. And I also want to remember Patricia Walkup because, and this park is named after her, she was the one that really inspired us all to think different and say, no, just because it was that way, it doesn't mean it's right, and it doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. So when I think about this, I think about the Hayes Valley Neighborhood Association, and a lot of them are here. Gail, Jim, Bob, Marie, I could keep going, because they're a neighborhood that says, let's do something different. We don't have to do things the way the city has always done them. Just take all of the parcels here. I was actually a legislative aide when we were discussing these parcels. And one of the things that people had said, and people in the city, and I won't say who, but they said, I think we should just keep them fenced off until we put housing. And the neighborhood and people said, no, why? Well, let's try something new. And then there was someone in the city, Rich Hillis, that said, yeah, I'll take ahead of that. Let's do that. I'll take that forward. And now you have all of this space that everybody loves, and it's, you know, as proxy and all the way down to the beer garden. Remember the actual neighborhood garden that we had? All those spaces that were activating this neighborhood. And then now we're at a situation where we were like, how can we make Octavia and this neighborhood safer for pedestrians, for bicyclists, and this. And as I think a lot of you know, Page Street is going to have a protected bike lane now, which is something that we've been talking about for years also. And it's going to be one way going up. So it's not going to be a freeway feeder anymore, which is going to make a huge difference for the people who live here. Because the one thing we don't want to see is everyone from all over the city rushing to Octavia Boulevard to get on the freeway. So one of the first things I did when I got into office is I asked for a major traffic study for this area because it had been over 10 years since they had one. And then to actually go all the way up to Stanyon and beyond to see how can we divert traffic from this area. So people who live on the west side, if they need to get to the freeway, they can get there, but they don't all have to bottleneck into Hayes Valley to get on the Octavia freeway. And when we were talking about it, this portion of Octavia came up also. And we were like, how can this be safer? Because as we know, and we've seen so many people walk from the coffee shop with their coffee and their phone in hand, not looking and walking straight across to the park. Not a really safe way to do it, but it just happens all the time. And so we look, how can we make this safer? So we looked at actually closing it off. And making it a bike lane. Anyone, this has always been a bike lane, but if you have ridden your bike down here to get to Page Street, or you come down from Page Street, you know it's not always safe. People are kind of looking for parking and everything else. So when I look at this now and look what's happening and how fast you actually did this, SFMTA, because so many things take about 10 years to do, and this actually moved really fast. So there's people I want to thank for this, because this is something that I think that people need to be thanked and for their advocacy and what they've done. I want to thank Jamil Parks, Tom McGuire, Mark Drager, and his whole team at SFMTA they've made this a reality, and they're so creative, and I just want to say thank you. I know you get beat up a lot when you come out to neighborhoods for new ideas, but we thank you because we've seen the difference. Walk SF and also the Bike Coalition, thank you for always being there and saying we can be better, we can make it better and do better for people who want alternative transportation. Phil Ginsberg and Steve Gamalski at Reckham Park, these two have always said, let's try new things also, and then to really look at this park extending over is something that they really encouraged also and supportive. And then, as I said, the Hayes Valley Neighborhood Association. Thank you very much for everything that you do. You have made this an amazing neighborhood, because people a lot of times think that's the city, but it's the community and the community activists that make a neighborhood amazing. And I just want to say thank you very much. And also the Merchants Association. And right now I want to bring up someone, Lloyd Silverstein. He's from the Hayes Valley Merchants Association, to say a few words about how he feels about this space. Where is Lloyd? He was late, and now, oh, there you are, Lloyd. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everybody, for coming this morning on a little overcast day. I want to start out by saying a few thank yous myself. I'm kind of the new kid on the block. I just moved my store from Union Square, where I'd had a 4-generation family business, to Linden Street, and I'm just thrilled to be here. And I wanted to thank both the mayor, our Supervisor Brown, SFMTA for making this happen. I also want to thank Gail Baugh for, I was going to say, dragging me in to the neighborhood association, but it kidnapped me. It has been a labor of love to be an activist alongside her and make a lot of these things hopefully move forward. I wanted to speak from personal experience, because when this happened, I thought this was really going to have a negative effect on us and our business. And the city was smart enough to do some trial runs to see how this thing was going to work. And whoever Valley and everybody else hired to do these traffic studies really nailed this, because clearly most of the traffic that comes this direction off of Octavia is going east or west on either Page or Fell, or if they're going north, they're certainly not going this way. So in point of fact, when these streets were closed off for the trials over the last couple of years, we on Linden saw no discernible impact, which is really good, because as many of you may know, this was our first and hopefully not our last living alley. So part of the beautification project of this street was to encourage pedestrian thoroughfare and more merchants and so on and so forth. And I think that we're able to accomplish both by getting this blocked off, but really without a big impact. So this is just a bunch of thank yous from me and from the rest of our merchants here. I encourage the city to continue its quest to keep a lot of open space here. Housing is certainly something that we all need, but protecting our open space is really a good thing, and I think this is great. The day it opened, there was a bunch of skateboarders out here, and it was really, really cool to watch. So that's all I had to say. I'm going to next introduce Brian Wiedenmeyer from the Bike Coalition, and he can say a few words too. So thank you to everybody for making this happen.
Thank you so much, Lloyd. My name is Brian Wiedenmeyer. I am the Executive Director of the San Francisco Bicycle Coalition, and it is my distinct pleasure to be here this morning on a beautiful San Francisco day to celebrate this gorgeous space that has been improved and remade for people first right here in Hayes Valley. And I also want to thank some folks, and I'm going to start off by thanking you, Supervisor Brown. Your leadership on this project and on bicycle and pedestrian safety improvements throughout District 5 during your time in office, and before that, during your time on staff for Supervisor Breed, then Supervisor Breed, has been inspirational and really key to getting the kinds of safety improvements that we need in this neighborhood and across the rest of San Francisco to improve biking for all of our residents. So a deep appreciation from all of our members and from everybody who rides a bike in the city. Thank you, Supervisor. I also want to extend that thanks and gratitude to Mayor Breed. Her leadership, once again, has provided crucial support for projects like this. And I'm excited to see in her new term in office that continued leadership spread to more projects across our city. I want to thank our advocacy partners at Walk San Francisco. This project obviously doesn't just benefit people who bike in our city, but also all of us who walk, which is just about everybody here today. And then finally, our community partners at the Hayes Valley Neighborhood Association and the Hayes Valley Merchants Association. You have been a pleasure to work with. I know our memberships overlap, and at the San Francisco Bicycle Coalition, our office is right here in Hayes Valley, and we are also members of the Hayes Valley Neighborhood Association. So thank you for your support. This project, it's been said, really goes back to reimagining what our streetscapes can look like with the teardown of the Central Freeway over almost 2 decades ago now. But that certainly thinking about that started over 2 decades ago. And that dream of streets and neighborhood spaces that put people first is continuing today right here on Octavia Boulevard at Patricia's Green as we celebrate not only this beautiful space that is now open for people walking and biking safely, but a gorgeous contraflow bike lane on Hayes Street behind us that's going to allow people biking to have a safe connection northbound onto Octavia to continue their journey. So this is really, I hope, what is the start of a trend that we're going to see across San Francisco, that we can be thinking creatively about our streets as recreational spaces, as active transportation thoroughfares, as places for people first. So we have a small space here that we're starting with, this kind of 2 blocks on either side on Octavia. I want to see, and our members of the San Francisco Bicycle Coalition want to see this kind of space expand across our city, and to take what Hayes Valley knows can work and what's been done right here on Octavia and prove that it can work in other commercial corridors and on other neighborhood streets across our city. And I couldn't get up here today and speak without mentioning the great changes we're going to see coming to Page Street. And to thank as well the Hayes Valley neighbors and merchants, and again, Supervisor Brown, for your leadership on this, really taking a key connector for people who bike across our city and transforming it into a safer place and not a freeway on-ramp and off-ramp. So I couldn't be more excited. I can't wait to ride my bike on this street. And with that, I want to introduce some of our neighbors here, somebody who represents the neighborhood here and the great space that we're standing in front of, and that's Douglas Burnham from the Proxy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Douglas Burnham. I am the founder of Envelope Architecture and Design, and we are the creators and the curators and the stewards of Proxy. Today, I'm here as a witness to an exemplary public process by the SFMTA on this street closure. Casey Hildreth, Mark Drager, and the whole SFMTA team they've been incredible leaders in this project, and I just want to sort of give my my take on it. Their process here, they've had an incredibly rigorous pace of public meetings and information sessions that, looking at my emails, went back almost 5 years of just when the discussion about this closure began. They implemented live prototyping of this street closure, a very low-cost way to kind of test whether the closure would be possible and what the impacts would be. And they've been in constant communication with the neighbors, with the businesses, and with the neighborhood on this kind of developing idea of the closure. Casey, Mark, and the SFMTA, along with Mayor Breed, the Hayes Valley Neighborhood Association, Valley Brown, and SF Park and Rec, have a progressive vision for the city that preferences multimodal transportation and a safer public realm. And we've been questioning the outsized role that the automobile has had on our city over the last century. They've all been responsive to the negative impacts that the constant stream of vehicles on this public space has had, and they've been supportive of and responsive to these emerging public spaces. There is an implicit understanding that the city, though it appears to be incredibly fixed and rigid, is a flexible thing that can be responsive to the citizens and to community input. And so I'd like to end as a temporary steward of this place to thank everyone for their tireless vision and for this closure and for making possible this safety improvement for the enjoyment of the citizens and the visitors of San Francisco. Thanks. I'll hand it back to Tom.
Okay, thank you all for the kind words, and I think it's time that we get some scissors out and cut the ribbon. Here come Supervisor. Count us down. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Beautiful.
Thank you. This is great. Who's gonna ride the bike through? I see a cop. Where's that cop? Tell him to ride through.
Here comes a bicyclist.
Hey!
Come on through. First one across.